After the real heiress returned, Leander took back the keys to my villa and publicly announced his engagement to her. I didn't attend the wedding, he said casually. Saves me from having to watch her cry, make a scene, and threaten suicide. Yet the real heiress insisted on confirming my safety. The moment the call connected, my crying really did echo through the entire venue. Please, darling. Have mercy, MH, don't. Leander went berserk on the spot, his eyes turning red as he spent the entire night searching every hotel in the city. Chapter 1. The Four Seasons Hotel, Presidential Suite. Seeing the name Leander on the phone screen, the curve of Felix's lips deepened. His rough fingers tightened around my waist, applying just a little force as he pulled me even closer. Why haven't you blocked him yet? Warm breath brushed against my ear as the man bit lightly at my earlobe, his tone playful and dangerous. Trying to make me jealous? That's a pretty shallow trick. I didn't respond, nor did I dare to speak. If I opened my mouth, there was no telling how much worse he'd get. I still wanted to see the sun tomorrow. The air around us grew increasingly heated. Leander's call was still connected. Today was his wedding to Ellie Rodriguez. One was the long-lost real heiress of the Rodriguez family. The other, a prized aristocrat of the capital. Guests filled the hall, and the so-called wedding of the century was being live-streamed across the entire internet. At a moment like this, why was he calling me, his fake heiress ex-fiancé? My earlobe suddenly tightened. The pain snapped me back to reality, and I met Felix's displeased, shadow dark eyes head-on, enjoying what's in your bowl, but still thinking about what's in the pot. He grabbed the remote from the bedside table and pressed a button. The projection flickered on, instantly displaying the live broadcast of the wedding. On the stage, Ellie was holding Leander's phone, her face filled with worry. Why isn't my sister answering her phone? She ran away from home a week ago. Could something have happened to her? Ran away from home? Clearly, it was because I had repeatedly framed Ellie, and our parents, in great pain, cut ties with me. The night before I was discarded by the Rodriguez family, Leander had also taken back every key to the villas under his name. My marriage alliance partner is the real heiress of the Rodriguez family, so our relationship ends here. Don't let Ellie misunderstand. Heh. So the 7 years of wholehearted devotion I gave him amounted, in his eyes, to nothing more than the words marriage alliance partner, something that could be replaced at any time, and the very person responsible was now holding a glass of champagne, his handsome face relaxed and indifferent. So what if she didn't show up? Leander wrapped an arm around Ellie's waist, smiling with deep affection. That's for the best. Saves us from her crying, throwing tantrums, and threatening suicide at our wedding. Felix suddenly chuckled softly by my ear. You'd really cry, make a scene, and threaten suicide? Come on, cry for me, make a scene, let me see. I shot him an immediate eye roll. You? Are you even worthy? Ah, you. What I got in return was an even more vicious response from the man. Jenny, you're the one who provoked me first, and you still don't know how to behave? Chapter 2. That bastard. For the sake of my physical and mental safety, my eyes darted, and I grabbed onto the solid muscles of his back, dropping to my knees at lightning speed to beg for mercy. All right, don't, please, spare me. Felix laughed softly and finally eased up a little, but the very next second, my voice seemed to be replayed for some inexplicable reason. Then came a burst of noisy gasps. What was that sound? What is Jenny shouting? It sounds kind of ambiguous. I think I heard a man laughing too. No way. No way? A realization hit me in a daze, and I hurriedly looked at my phone. The call had somehow been put on speaker and connected. Felix. You, MMH. I cried out instinctively, only to have my mouth covered by a large hand the next second. The man chuckled lowly, raising his brows, the meaning in his eyes unmistakable. Sure enough, shrill screams erupted from the live broadcast projection. Who is she calling? Felix? That Felix? The capital's crown prince Felix? Jenny and Felix are together? Holy shit. That's insane. Did anyone notice? There sounds like wedding music on the call, and I think I can hear us talking too. Good lord. Are we watching a wedding while? Are we all part of their play? Felix laughed again, perfectly timed. He ended the call, on the live feed, Ellie stood frozen in place, holding up the phone. Leander's face instantly darkened like the bottom of a burnt pot. Felix, Leander's lifelong nemesis. The man who could turn the capital upside down with a wave of his hand. The living nightmare who outshone him at every turn. Before becoming a fake heiress, I had still been a proper young lady of the capital for over 20 years. Lose anything, but never lose face. So the moment I dragged my suitcase out of the Rodriguez family's house, I immediately took a cab straight to this living nightmare's estate. I snatched the Maine Coon named Nala from his arms. You bastard. I accept your confession. From today on, I'll be your spoiled wife. Chapter 3. After I finished speaking, Felix turned around and immediately summoned his medical team. Prescribe her some fever medicine. At the same time, he reached out to snatch the cat. I hugged Nala tightly and refused to let go. My temperature is 36.5 degrees Celsius. I'm perfectly conscious and completely normal. Conscious? The man stared at me, frowning slightly. You took 7 years to respond to my confession, and you call that being conscious? Well, there was nothing I could do about that. 7 years ago, my mind had been filled with nothing but studying and Leander. All bright and untouchable. I really wasn't thinking straight back then. All I wanted was to wear the same pants as you and call you my bro. I said solemnly. Besides, this kind of thing is supposed to be thought through carefully. Felix let out a quiet laugh. Careful thought? Or did you get dumped and come looking for your bargain childhood friend as a backup to save face? Both. I admitted it openly. Then I picked up a document from his European-style antique desk and waved it with a smile. And I'm guessing you definitely won't refuse me now. The thing in my hand was my bargaining chip. Felix fell silent, his gaze fixed on me, dark and unfathomable. In the end, he curled his lips and stood up, still in the mood to play games with me. Guess you weren't hurt that badly. He took the folder, casually lifted Nala out of my arms, and set her back on the sofa. The next second, my waist was suddenly locked tight by long, powerful arms. If it's do it, then we'll do it. Just don't regret it. Chapter 4. You're zoning out way too often. My nose was suddenly pinched shut, and the abrupt lack of oxygen yanked me straight back to reality. Furious, I grabbed a pillow beside me and smacked it into his face. You bastard. Don't push it. Who answers phone calls at a time like this? Good grief. That was a full network live broadcast. So thrilling. The man raised his brows with a light laugh and pulled me into a sitting position in his arms. My line of sight abruptly aligned with the projected screen, straight into Leander's increasingly bloodshot eyes. Felix snorted softly. Look, that guy's pissed. He's still getting angry over you. Happy? The moment the words left his mouth, Leander in the video actually shook off Ellie's hand. He hurried off the wedding stage. Ellie turned pale with fright and hurried after him, grabbing his arm. Leander? Where are you going? Leander paused, then shook her off again. Something came up. Pause the wedding for now. Watching this absurd scene, I couldn't help laughing. Unbelievable. A wedding can be paused like that? Apparently displeased with me getting distracted yet again, Felix let out a low sigh and maliciously continued. I completely lost interest in the chaotic livestream, until there was a soft knock at the bedroom door, along with Felix's assistant David's slightly awkward voice. Boss. Sorry to interrupt. We just got word that the Koo family has suddenly ordered a full sweep of all hotel suites in City A. Leander Koo is already on his way here. Felix chuckled and tightened his hold around my waist. Let him through, up to the suite door. Yes. Clinging to the man's broad shoulders, I narrowed my eyes at him. What? You even predicted he'd come? No wonder we weren't at the estate today and had deliberately booked a presidential suite instead. Felix raised his brows. Anticipating your opponent's anticipation, that's my style. All right. But did you, sir, not anticipate that I'm about to collapse from exhaustion? I rolled my eyes again and pinched his abs hard. Are you done yet? I'm exhausted. Don't rush me. The veins at his temples stood out slightly, his voice edged with restrained tension. Shouldn't we wait for our distinguished guest to arrive? He paused. Then his eyes suddenly lit up. I've changed my mind. I'll let the guest come all the way to the bedroom door. I froze, and suddenly remembered what was still scattered on the sofa outside the bedroom. You bastard. You. Felix curled his lips in amusement and leaned down, sealing the rest of my words away. Chapter 5. Until noise finally came from outside the bedroom. Mr. Koo? Sorry. This is a private suite. Please, get out of the way. After Leander's sharp shout, Felix picked up the remote again. He switched the feed to the suite's exterior security camera. On screen, Leander shoved aside our assistant David, who looked weak and defenseless, and stormed into the living room. The next second, he froze at the sight before him. On the large leather sofa lay scattered the things Felix and I had just finished using. Our school uniforms from 7 years ago. Leander walked over in a daze, trembling fingers lifting my uniform shirt. His eyes stared blankly at the faint brownish stain on it. 7 years ago, that day, I had finally mustered the courage to confess to Leander. An overripe banyan fruit fell onto my shoulder and cut off my clumsy, awkward confession. The boy leaned against the banyan tree trunk, finally lifting his gaze from his book to look at me. That was also the first time I ever saw a smile bloom on that aloof, untouchable face. I thought I had finally plucked that bright moon from the sky. Suddenly, my body felt light as Felix scooped me up. From the mattress to the bedroom door, Felix's gaze darkened slightly. He caught my hand and pressed it against the doorknob. Thinking about him? Then open the door and go to him. He maliciously pressed the handle down a little. My heart jolted. I quickly hooked my arms around his neck and pecked that dangerously sexy earlobe. I'm not. Leander's low roar sounded again from outside. Jenny, come out. He started pounding on the door, the vibrations making my already aching body and head hurt even more, until the shouting outside grew shaky. Jenny, I'm begging you. You could have been with anyone. Why did it have to be Felix? Felix seemed to laugh in disbelief. The next second, the door was pulled open just a crack. I jolted in fright, but was immediately shifted aside by him. I watched as he narrowed his eyes slightly, curling his lips lazily toward the gap in the door. Mr. Koo seems to have quite an issue with me, but who she chooses doesn't seem to have anything to do with you. Her former brother-in-law. Does it? Ambiguous warmth spilled out with his unrestrained words. Leander completely lost it, his defenses shattered, as he slammed his weight against the door. Felix! Let Jenny go. You just wait. I won't let this go. As the door was effortlessly shut again, David and the others dragged him away from outside. Once the surroundings fell completely silent, the farce finally came to an end, and I could no longer hold on. I blacked out. Chapter 6. When I woke up from hunger, it was already early the next morning. I didn't even know when I had ended up back on that ultra-luxurious bed at Felix's estate. My phone was vibrating furiously on the nightstand. Hashtag Leander runs from wedding. Hashtag Jenny Felix. Hashtag Capo real heiress wedding abandoned. Hashtag. The comment section had completely exploded. Heard Leander searched every hotel suite in Cydia last night. Not sure if he found the person, but he sure helped the cops rack up overtime. Ellie's pitiful. Apparently she fainted from crying at the wedding. But Jenny's impressive too, hopping from one branch to another and still staying a phoenix. I think this gossip is fake. Jenny's a discarded fake heiress. Why would Felix even look at her? As netizens debated nonstop, they gradually swarmed over to my INS, demanding a response. I thought about it for a moment, then flipped out of bed. Good morning, Miss Rodriguez. The moment I opened the door, I ran into Assistant David heading upstairs. Boss is almost done with breakfast and asked me to invite you downstairs. He's cooking again? I glanced toward the kitchen, catching the aroma drifting through the air. Sure enough, a broad-shouldered, narrow-waisted figure in an apron was busy at the stove. I rubbed my loudly protesting stomach and charged over, spearing a sausage. I popped it straight into my mouth. The next second, my hand was lightly smacked. No manners. You don't get to control me. I speared another sausage. My eyes flickered, and I casually leaned against Felix's arm. I lifted my phone and snapped a perfectly framed selfie, straight onto INS. The comments exploded instantly. Holy shit. Jenny responded. It really is Felix. Wait, what's Felix doing? Cooking himself? This girl really woke up early just to eat this well, in every possible way. Heh. At least she knows her place. Just a kept wife. Ruin someone else's wedding and still showing off. Strong sis is unstoppable. I shrugged, put my phone down, and kept eating sausage. The arm behind me suddenly stilled. Pretty thick-skinned. They're not wrong. How do I not look like a kept wife? I turned with a grin and pointed at myself. Silk camisole nightdress. Suggestive red marks everywhere. Eating what the big shot makes. Using what the big shot provides. And being the big shot's woman. Felix glanced at me and shook his head slightly. What are your plans today? I'm going back to the Rodriguez house. I picked up a freshly steamed shrimp dumpling. I was kicked out too suddenly last time. Forgot to take some things. His gaze settled on me again, and he laughed softly. You really know how to pick your timing. Want me, the big shot, to come support you? I waved my hand. No need for that. I just want to borrow 2 bodyguards from you. There's a lot to carry. Felix nodded. All right. Come back early. Don't forget the auction tonight. He cut into his fried egg unhurriedly. Morning sunlight draping over the exquisitely sculpted face, refined and noble. TSK. In daylight, this bastard didn't look like much of a bastard at all. Remembering a certain amusing trope I'd read before, I dragged my chair closer to him. Blinking mischievously, I teased. Hey, bastard. Do you have a refractory period? Felix's knife paused. When he looked at me again, his gaze had deepened noticeably. Do you still want to go out today? Never mind. Forget I said anything. Chapter 7. When I returned to the Rodriguez residence, it was just as lively as I'd expected. The runaway groom from yesterday was standing miserably at the front gate. From inside, I could vaguely hear sobbing mixed with soft coaxing voices. Hearing movement, Leander immediately turned around. When he saw me, his eyes lit up slightly. Jenny. His gaze swept briefly over my collarbone, then froze mid-sentence, his expression instantly darkening. You, at least cover up a bit. Shouldn't you? Cover my ass. It's 35 degrees Celsius, if you want me to die of heatstroke. Just say it. I ignored him and walked straight to the door. It opened at just the right moment. Sean Rodriguez, the eldest of the family, saw me, and the indulgent warmth on his face vanished instantly. What are you doing here? After ruining Ellie's wedding, you still have the nerve to come back? I frowned and crossed my arms. Ellie was the one who called me, and me not attending the wedding wasn't exactly what you all wanted. You had to come provoke me. Don't act like I'm the one forcing myself in. You. Sean flushed with rage and raised his hand to slap me. Before the bodyguards behind me could move, another hand shot out and firmly grabbed Sean's wrist. Sean, she's still your sister. After all. Leander's voice was low as he looked at me with reluctant concern. Seeing this, Sean sneered. Leander, you think Ellie hasn't been hurt enough? Don't forget, you're here to beg for forgiveness. I didn't even make you kneel at the door. That's already me being generous. Leander opened his mouth, then silently let go. As his gaze returned to Sean's hand, he suddenly seemed to notice something, his pupils contracting sharply. Sean, you've always worn these 2 rings on your right middle finger? Since when? Sean subconsciously rubbed the rings, looking at him strangely. My wife's and my couple rings. That's your business now? The moment the words fell, Leander looked as if he'd been struck by lightning, frozen in place. I knew exactly what he was thinking. That night, my face had been cut open by Sean's slap and the edge of his ring, but when I returned to Leander's villa in a daze, he had sneered coldly. Expressionless. Put on some makeup for yourself. Didn't get enough sympathy at the Rodriguez house. So you came to me? Have you ever thought about whose fault that was? Chapter 8. Ignoring the way his gaze clung desperately to me, I pushed past Sean and entered the house. On the sofa, Ellie was crying pitifully, being gently comforted by my former adoptive parents. When they saw me come in, all 3 froze. What do you want? My adoptive father, Sam, stared at me with icy eyes. Hard to imagine this was the man who, just half a year ago, would have plucked stars from the sky for me. I'm here to take the things I didn't have time to bring last time. I gestured for the bodyguards outside to come in. I'll only take what's mine. Your family bonds or whatever, I'm not interested. Sam's face darkened further. Jenny, there's nothing of yours left in this house. Letting you keep the Rodriguez surname is the last courtesy we're giving you. Oh. I didn't look at him again. Instead, I pointed at the exquisitely framed oil paintings lining the living room. This one, and that one, pack them all up and move them out. Seeing the bodyguards file in, Sam jumped to his feet in panic. What are you doing? These paintings belong to the Rodriguez family. You're not allowed to touch them. I painted all of these myself. How are they suddenly yours? My authorship rights belong to me, legally and morally. I took the packing materials from the bodyguards and carefully wrapped the paintings. Ellie, who'd been crying nonstop, abruptly stopped. She staggered toward me and grabbed my wrist. A flicker of disgust flashed through her eyes, instantly replaced by a pitiful expression. Sister, could you let the paintings stay just one more night? Just one night. Tomorrow I'll personally pack them and deliver them to the gentleman's estate. I looked at her, then at the panicked Rodriguez family behind her. I couldn't help laughing. What scheme are you trying to pull with my paintings? As the words fell, lively laughter sounded from outside. Sean entered with a refined elderly Western man, introducing him enthusiastically in fluent English. This is our Rodriguez family. This is my father, Mr. Sam Rodriguez, and my mother, Ms. Jiang Yang. Dad, Mom, this is the famous collector, Mr. Hills. He then pointed at Ellie, whose face had gone deathly pale. This is my, Ms. Jenny. I never thought I'd actually get to meet you here. Chapter 9. Before Sean could finish his sentence, the elderly man excitedly walked straight toward me. So the rumors are true, you really are the Rodriguez family's young lady from the capital. Wonderful. Simply wonderful. Sam and Sean were both stunned. You two know each other? Mr. Hill smiled and nodded. We've met once before. Only then did his gaze shift to Ellie, his expression turning puzzled. By the way, Mr. Rodriguez, just now you said this young lady is. The Rodriguez family's eyes darted away. No one dared utter another word, so I stepped in to break the increasingly awkward silence. Mr. Hills, are you here to buy my paintings again? I shook his hand with a smile. I'm terribly sorry. I've been in the middle of moving recently. So many of my works need reorganizing before I can put them up for sale again. However, I'll be attending tonight's Drunken Night auction. The piece everyone's been waiting for will be up then. Really? Mr. Hills's eyes lit up as he nodded repeatedly. Excellent. Excellent. I'll definitely be there. Then I'll head back now and prepare my bidding funds. He didn't even have time to say goodbye to the Rodriguez family before leaving in a hurry. I swept my gaze over the Rodriguez family, whose expressions now looked like a smashed color palette, and shrugged with a light laugh. So, do you still need to use my paintings? No one answered. Then I carried on. When I reached the very last painting, the most important one, Leander suddenly walked in. The moment he saw it, his eyes flooded with light. Jenny, you're taking this painting too? I glanced at him, then at my painting. The boy in the painting wore a plain white school uniform, handsome, refined, aloof like an untouchable high mountain flower. Once, that boy had nearly filled my entire heart. Now, with time passed and the world changed, he was no different from anyone else. I curled my lips into a faint smile. Yes, it's a very important piece to me, and I'll be taking it to the auction as well. Hope instantly surged in Leander's eyes. Seeing this, Ellie seemed to lose control. She lunged straight at me, raising her hand to slap me. Jenny, have you no shame? Leander is my husband. Even if the wedding was ruined, we've already registered the marriage. True siblings. Indeed, even the angle of the slap was exactly the same. I didn't dodge. I simply waited as the bodyguards shielded both me and the painting. Relax. Your sister here only wants to be a big shots kept wife now. I don't have time for cheap tricks like stealing someone else's man. Oh, right. I've also just registered my marriage with my husband. In a while, we'll pick an auspicious date for the wedding. If you'd like to come, I can have Assistant David send you an invitation. With that, I walked out grandly, taking a room full of paintings with me. Ellie's shrill scream rang out behind me. What do you mean stealing someone else's man? Jenny, you're the homewrecker. Leander fell in love with me first. It was MMPH. Before she could finish, her reflection in the glass door showed Sean clamping a hand over her mouth. Leander's face changed drastically. Panicked. He tried to chase after me, but before the bodyguards even had to move, Sean reacted faster, rushing forward and slamming the door shut the instant I stepped outside. Chapter 10. After leaving the Rodriguez house, I had the bodyguards escort the paintings back first. Then, feeling rather pleased with myself, went to indulge in a Michelin 3-star feast. At the same time, I mulled over what Ellie had said. From the way it sounded, the two of them didn't seem to have met only after Ellie was officially acknowledged and brought back into the family. Sean's reaction had also been oddly off. Strolling back to the estate at an unhurried pace, I discovered that Felix had actually gotten off work early. He was sitting in the living room, examining my paintings one by one with a scrutinizing gaze. Leander's portrait had even been placed in the C position. Seeing his clearly displeased, darkened expression, I laughed to myself and walked over, steadying the frame. Jealous? I glanced at the antique paper knife clenched in his hand, then deliberately stepped in front of the painting. Easy there, this is my ultimate lot for tonight's auction. Felix raised his brows slightly. He tossed the paper knife back onto the table, picked up Nala, and let out a low, mocking chuckle. Aren't you afraid of becoming the embarrassment of the night with a rock-bottom final bid? I shrugged. Doesn't matter. That's not our real objective anyway. Felix said nothing more. The cat in his arms, however, wriggled unhappily as his grip unconsciously tightened, then struggled free and jumped down. Meow. Not forgetting to throw a few kitty punches at his pant leg. I couldn't help laughing. After thinking it over, I still moved closer to him. Stop being jealous. How about I paint one for you too? Not for sale. Just frame it and hang it in your study so you can admire my god-tier painting skills every day. Felix glanced at me, turned his face away with a soft snort. I don't want tricks you've already used on other men. Makes me look stupid, like a substitute. So hard to please. I rolled my eyes. Fine, then no time to waste. We need to get ready for the auction. I need to think about what to wear. No need to think. Felix curled his lips slightly and snapped his fingers in an annoyingly flashy way. Assistant David slowly approached from the side wing, pushing a gown rack. A jet black custom haute couture floor-length evening gown, its hemline studded with diamonds, glittering like a galaxy against the night sky, paired with a full set of custom kunstite jewelry. Miss Rodriguez. Boss had this custom made a long time ago. David leaned in close, gossiping excitedly by my ear. Kunstite is known as the spirit of the night, so this set is called even. A slightly awkward cough cut him off. Go get Laura. Have her help change the gown. Got it. Got it. David scurried off with a grin. I thought for a moment, then called after him. No need. With one hand, I pulled the gown rack over and immediately followed Felix. You help me change. Felix froze mid-step. I seized the moment, circling to stand in front of him and raising a brow. We're already an old married couple of a whole week. You won't even help me change a dress? Felix narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at me for a long moment. In the end, he nodded and laughed softly. Then you help me change into my suit too. No problem. 15 minutes later, dressed to the nines, I was pressed against the wardrobe by Felix, his kisses raining down without mercy. Don't. I smacked away his hand for what felt like the 100th time as it roamed wickedly over my waist. It'll wrinkle, then we'll take it off and steam it again before putting it back on. His voice was hoarse as he laughed softly by my ear. There are still 4 hours before the auction starts. I don't mind changing you a few more times, but let's think about tonight's plan. I was genuinely afraid he'd squeeze every last second out of those 4 hours, so I hurriedly changed the subject. So, what's your plan tonight? Felix lifted his brows and straightened up. Looking at me seriously, he said, I'll listen to you. You said that yourself. I brushed the kunstite necklace at my chest, eyes flicking lightly. An idea took shape in an instant. Then, inside-outside coordination? All right. Chapter 11. The Drunken Night auction was famously prestigious within high society. As long as the seller deemed an item valuable, no matter what it was, it could be admitted into the auction catalog. Because of that, most of the distinguished guests who attended were only bidding on the surface, while privately networking behind the scenes. Such loose rules often made it easier for certain dirty deals to take root. The moment Felix and I entered the venue, nearly every gaze converged on us. 3 of them were especially scorching. Ms. Jenny, you really came. Mr. Hills approached with a glass of champagne in hand. His eyes then shifted to Felix. And this gentleman is my husband, Felix. Oh, I've heard so much about you. Mr. Hills nodded repeatedly and shook hands with Felix. After a few polite exchanges, We continued toward our assigned seats. Along the way, Felix lowered his head slightly and chuckled. Mr. Hills is one of the most prominent collectors on the European continent. I remember he wasn't on tonight's guest list. As if realizing something, the smile on his lips deepened. No wonder the staff and security outside were running around like crazy. That's not Justin's usual level of preparation. Justin, the organizer of the Drunken Night auction. At that moment, the middle-aged man sat in a high seat on the second floor, surveying the venue with a cold expression. Most of his gaze was fixed on Felix and me. I sighed helplessly. Looks like Mr. Hills told him to keep a close eye on us. As soon as I finished speaking, a long arm gently wrapped around my waist. Don't be afraid. Warm breath brushed my ear as we leaned close like an affectionate couple. Such blatant public displays of affection inevitably drew even more attention, and pushed someone, somewhere, dangerously close to snapping. I hadn't expected that someone whose household was already in complete chaos would still be in the mood to attend the auction tonight. Yet there he was, seated right next to my VIP section. The moment I sat down, Leander instantly reined in all personal emotion and sat upright, composed. A perfectly tailored white suit draped over him, cool, restrained, ascetic. His features calm and distant, like an untouchable holy alpine flower, fully committing to the persona. I glanced at Felix. He showed no particular reaction. Between his tousled bangs, a discreet in-ear monitor glimmered faintly. Tonight was going to be an exceptionally busy night. Chapter 12. As time passed, one lot after another was either sold or passed, until the staff carried my painting onto the auction stage. The curtain lifted. A refined young man bathed in sunlight, pure as a deity, untouchable and immaculate. The venue instantly filled with hushed whispers. Why does the person in this painting look so familiar? Holy, isn't that Leander? I think I've seen this painting at the Rodriguez house. Next up is a lot provided by Ms. Jenny, titled Hope. Although Ms. Jenny has recently been involved in some controversy, it is well known that she studied under a master of the European continent, and her consummate technique is highly sought after in the global collector's circle. Moreover, this is a charity lot. All proceeds from this painting will be donated to a foundation supporting the education of girls in mountainous regions. With the auctioneer's introduction, the murmurs grew even louder. Many had already noticed that Leander and I were seated next to each other. Did Leander's runaway wedding actually win Jenny back? Otherwise, why would they be sitting together, and she even brought a painting to show off their love? But didn't Jenny arrive with Felix? This is complicated. A trace of smugness flashed across Leander's face as he shot a provocative glance at Felix. Unfortunately for him, Felix couldn't be bothered to spare him even a second. The introduction ended. Bidding began. Leander was the first to raise his paddle. 1 million. On the other side, Mr. Hills refused to back down. 2 million. At this moment, the elderly man frowned slightly, his gaze shifting repeatedly between me and the painting. Leander followed without hesitation. 5 million. Mr. Hills's frown deepened. He liked my paintings, but clearly not the person in this one. He must have heard something. All right, 5 million. Once. 5 million. Twice. No one continued bidding. Leander's aloof, untouchable persona was on the verge of collapsing, the smile on his face growing more obvious by the second. Just as the auctioneer was about to bring the hammer down, I curved my lips and rose gracefully to my feet. My apologies, everyone. This painting is not tonight's auction lot. The room erupted in shock. The auctioneer stared wide-eyed. Ms. Rodriguez. I'm not quite sure what you mean. This painting is 100% the one you submitted. Drunken Night would never swap a VIP's lot. Of course, this isn't Drunken Night's problem. I walked onto the stage at an unhurried pace. At the same time, I removed the kunzite brooch from my chest. The auctioneer seemed to realize what I was about to do and cried out in alarm. Ms. Rodriguez, if you damage the lot, this auction will be voided. But he was slower than my hands. I twisted the pin free and, without hesitation, slashed it across the canvas. Gasps rang out as the young man's face shattered instantly. With swift motions, I tore away the entire image of Leander. Behind the fragments, another painting gradually emerged. A dilapidated classroom in a crumbling thatched hut. More than a dozen plainly dressed girls sat upright at crude desks. In their simple yet innocent eyes burned an endless longing and hope. I turned back to the audience, lips curling into a faint smile. Everyone, this is the true hope. I once hoped that the thing most precious to me would be protected by someone who cherished it. But since that old dream has already shattered, that layer of protection is meaningless. The venue fell into silence. Complex gazes landed on Leander, whose face had already gone deathly pale, until Mr. Hills suddenly leapt to his feet and raised his paddle. That's right. This is the hope I've been searching for all along. 10 million. The atmosphere ignited. A renowned philanthropist in the circle raised her paddle as well. 11 million. 12 million. As I returned to my seat, Felix finally lifted a finger and lightly tapped his ear, even with a sharp object. You should be more careful. He looked at me helplessly, then caught my finger, scratched by the pen and paper, and brought it to his lips. Gently sucking, I shrugged. I only care whether my painting sells for a high price. As the words fell, the hammer finally came down. Hope was sold to Mr. Hills for 35 million. He was beaming, smiling like a 200-pound overgrown baby. In stark contrast stood Leander, desperate to crawl into a crack in the ground as he fled the venue in humiliation. Chapter 13. The auction continued. Before long, a waiter dressed in black delivered a card to me. Congratulations to Ms. Jenny on achieving a high price for your lot. This is your entry card. If you need anything, please contact the guide at Gate 8. Finally, got it. I tightened my grip on the card and let out a small breath of relief. The next second, large hands gently enveloped mine. Felix curved his lips slightly and tilted his head toward me. My nerves relaxed at once. I stood and headed for Gate 8. Good evening, Ms. Jenny. The guide bowed respectfully, then bound my hands with restraint ties and fitted me with a blindfold and earplugs. After weaving through countless corridors, turning again and again, I was brought into a pitch-black venue. This was no longer a place where everyone sat together bidding openly. Each distinguished guest now had a private lounge, all to protect their identities. That's right. This was the true face of drunken night. The brighter and more upright it looked above ground, the filthier this underground nest was, because the lots here were no longer limited to legal items. They weren't even limited to objects. For example, right now on the auction platform stood a young man locked inside a cage. A mechanical voice echoed through the lounge speakers. This is a rare Rh-null blood type donor. Its value speaks for itself. Bidding is now open. Thank you all for your bids. We look forward to welcoming you again. Please wait patiently. After the security check, guides will escort you back to your seats. Soon. I was blindfolded and earplugged once more, led back into that endlessly spiraling corridor. As I walked, a faint breeze brushed past my temple, carrying a trace of blood from a passage we hadn't taken on the way in. I quickly brushed the kunzite necklace at my chest. The next second, a series of deafening explosions tore through the earplugs, the ground shaking violently. I immediately screamed in terror, turning in panic and running backward. Ah, what's happening? Help! The other guests at the back were instantly scattered by my sudden charge. The narrow corridor plunged into chaos, and in that moment, I slipped into that side passage. Chapter 14. After who knew how long, the guide finally found me, crouched in a corner, trembling, and quickly removed my earplugs. I'm terribly sorry, Ms. Jenny. There was an unexpected incident upstairs. You must have been frightened. Please come with me quickly. The gentleman is in a furious rage right now. Even as he spoke urgently, he still shoved the earplugs back in. Then he carried me straight out through Gate 8. Light returned to my vision. The auction hall was in complete disarray. The guests were huddled together in fear. On the shattered remains of the auction stage, Felix was gripping Justin by the collar, one fist clenched tight, veins bulging along his arm. His handsome face was dark and terrifying. If my wife isn't returned to me whole and unharmed, don't blame me for leveling this pathetic venue to the ground. As soon as he finished speaking, he sensed my gaze and turned around. The worry in his eyes vanished instantly. He shoved Justin away and strode toward me, wrapping me tightly into his arms. I glanced around, then hurriedly squeezed out a couple of crocodile tears, sobbing softly against his chest. Husband. I was so scared. Sob. Sob. It's all right. I'm here. We're going home now. Back in the car, I finally couldn't hold back my laughter. If I went into showbiz, I'd definitely win Best Actress. What exactly did you discover that made you switch to Plan B? Felix shook his head, still holding my fingers and rubbing them gently. The wounds opened again. You'll know once I paint it when we get back. I snapped off the diamond-studded nail from my right thumb and handed it to him. There were some unexpected gains too. He glanced at the miniature portable hard drive hidden inside the nail, then pulled my hand back. Taking out a bandage, he carefully wrapped the wound. Then he drew me into his arms. His heartbeat was racing far too fast. I looked up at him. You were worried about me? Yes. Well, there was nothing to be done. We agreed to those exchange terms. Before I could finish, Felix bent down and kissed me. There won't be a next time. Chapter 15. Once we got home, I dashed straight into the studio Felix had carefully prepared for me. I didn't even bother changing clothes. I grabbed my brushes at once and poured the route from my memory onto the canvas without missing a single detail. I was born with an absolute sense of direction, even blindfolded and wearing earplugs. I could sense the flow, frequency, and direction of the air and judge where entrances and exits lay. Bit by bit, the entire underground layout of Drunken Night was perfectly reconstructed from my memory onto paper. By the time I finished the final stroke, dawn had already broken. Admiring this once-in-a-lifetime masterpiece, I stretched lazily. The next second, a broad pair of arms wrapped around me from behind. Good work. His voice was gentle, though laced with faint exhaustion. I tilted my head up at him. You didn't sleep all night either, did you? Normal, Felix replied with a smile, lowering his head to kiss my forehead. I sorted through the classified data you hid in your nail, and I made you breakfast while I was at it. So, you're playing the role of the virtuous husband now? I deliberately poked his face with the tip of my paintbrush. Don't forget to check the map you asked for. Felix raised his brows. No need to check it. My wife drew it. Why wouldn't I trust it? Chapter 16. My glorious act of shredding a painting at Drunken Night spread quickly and even shot up the trending charts. Public opinion was sharply divided. Jenny is badass. What a clean slash to sever old feelings. Didn't expect her to care about girls in poor mountain regions too. Supporting charity and all. Heh. Isn't that just donating her husband's money? If she's so capable, why not use her own? That foreign guy was probably hired by Felix to hype her up, right? No way her painting is worth tens of millions, relying on men to play the strong female lead. Just a pampered little wife. So what if I'm a pampered wife? I'll pamper proudly. I took the 8 black cards Felix gave me and practically moved into INS, flaunting my pampered wife life nonstop. Rented an entire building today to turn into my personal painting studio. Bought another villa today. I'll share renovation updates in a few days. Unlocked the achievement of eating 1,000 Michelin stars today. To celebrate this memorable day, repost this pampered wife post. 10 people will win $88,888 in after-tax cash. It drove the haters absolutely crazy. So what if you've got a bit of dirty money? Wait, guys. I think I actually won? Hold on. Jenny, you're really giving out $88,888? While I happily maintained this rotten-to-the-core money relationship with my haters, things were going just as smoothly on Felix's end. With the help of the map, the underground level of Drunken Night was completely wiped out, because it implicated numerous elite families. Justin's so-called distinguished guests all chose self-preservation overnight, abandoning him without hesitation. After Justin was arrested, his assets were swiftly carved up by the various factions. Felix, of course, took a very generous bite. What was interesting was that both the Rodriguez family and the Koo family had also taken part. And in the classified data I'd hacked back, one line stood out starkly. 8 years ago, Sean and Leander jointly invested and brought a young girl out of the underground level of Drunken Night. Chapter 17. After the Drunken Night incident finally settled down, Felix also found himself with some rare free time. I immediately handed him a contract. There's a dating variety show that wants us as guest participants. Do you have time? Felix paused mid-motion while unbuttoning his shirt, one brow lifting slightly. We're already an old married couple. Going on a dating show? What's wrong with that? Marriage first. Love later is trending right now. I unleashed my pampered wife ultimate move, blinking at him furiously. Come on, it's just one episode, only 2 days of filming. Felix looked at me, As if realizing something, the smile in his eyes deepened. Tell me the truth. TCH. Busted. Fine. The high mountain village I mentioned last time, it's near the filming location of this dating show. Chapter 18. High Mountain Village, true to its name, was a small settlement perched high in the mountains. The surrounding emerald green peaks were steep and jagged, dotted with strange rock formations, gifted with incomparable beauty by nature's own hand. It was a pity that the only mountain road out had to wind around endlessly before becoming passable. Just passing by at the foot of the mountain already made my hands itch. So after finishing the opening shoot for the dating show, I changed into my hiking gear, slung my sketchboard over my back, and headed straight up the mountain. Felix was ordered to stay at the foot of the mountain and make dinner. The live stream bullet comments were stunned. Wait, if you two don't even stick together, why are you on a dating show? I came specifically to watch the spoiled wife drama queen, okay? No wonder people in the capital all play their own games. After that, I couldn't see the bullet comments anymore, because there was no signal in the mountains. Only a follow PD with a bitter smile accompanied me as I trekked through the terrain. By the time I finished mapping the routes around Mount Kankwi, the sun was almost gone. Just as I came down the mountain, a tall, handsome figure walked toward me under the golden-red glow of sunset. He was carrying a lunch box. Seeing me, he paused slightly, then a smile bloomed instantly at the corner of his lips. If you didn't come back soon, I was going to bring dinner up the mountain. Hee hee. I wasn't going to keep drawing after dark anyway. I looped my arm through his and walked back to the filming site, only to realize everyone was looking at me strangely. The livestream bullet comments were dripping with sarcasm. Oh, the big scumbag woman is back. How did I go from spoiled wife to big scumbag? What on earth happened during those few hours when I had no signal? Sensing the atmosphere getting more and more bizarre, I quickly took advantage of shower time to watch the daytime replay. At first, Felix looked completely unapproachable, like a suit-wearing crime boss, sitting in the tent reading the planning documents. No one came to talk to him, no one dared to, until the other guests finished their games and started preparing dinner. Felix suddenly appeared behind them holding a kitchen knife, his expression dark and cold. He nearly scared everyone half to death. They could only stand aside trembling as he skillfully chopped meat and vegetables. After even prepping portions for the other guests, the man picked up the spatula. I'll just cook yours too. And just like that, Felix laid out a full Manchu Han feast on the table. The guests instantly turned into his devoted fanboys and fangirls. Felix, you're so good at cooking. This is amazing. Isn't the capital's crown prince supposed to have, like, 100 chefs at home running every cuisine? After being thoroughly fed, everyone started chatting about everything under the sun. Felix, tell us about your love story with Sister Jenny. Felix smiled faintly. There doesn't really seem to be a love story between us. Back then, I confessed to her 10 times, and got rejected all 10 times. Chapter 19. How many times? I didn't remember that many at all. Yet the very next second, Felix actually pulled out 10 love letters that looked like they'd been around for ages. Except for the first one. I had never seen any of the others. Oh wow. This bastard was straight up lying through his teeth on a dating show. I stomped my foot, grabbed a scarf, and charged out of the bathroom. Felix, when did you confess to me 10 times? Leaning against the headboard, Felix set his book down and swept his gaze over me. The live cameras are still on. Amid a flood of bullet comments, I hurried back in to get properly dressed. When I came out again, I climbed straight onto Felix's lap. Explain. Now. He raised a brow, one arm loosely circling my waist. With the other hand, he picked up the 10 letters that had been sitting on the nightstand. Other than the first one, I slipped the remaining 9 into your desk drawer. And the next day, they all showed up in the trash. I stared blankly. I seriously don't remember throwing away any love letters. Wait, why couldn't you just give them to me in person like the first one? Felix smiled, a little helpless. You still remember the reason you rejected me the first time, right? I thought back. I think I said your handwriting was ugly, like chicken scratch. It had really just been an excuse I blurted out. After all, back then, my entire heart and mind were filled with Leander. Felix picked up another letter. So this is the second one. I practiced my handwriting a bit. I pressed my lips together and carefully opened it. The handwriting was indeed more legible. By the third, fourth, and fifth letters, it had clearly improved. I couldn't help muttering, honestly, by the sixth one, I probably wouldn't have complained about the handwriting anymore. So why would I throw them away? I've never had that kind of habit. I glanced at Felix, then opened the rest of the letters. Not only was the handwriting beautiful now, even the prose had noticeably improved. The last two even included some very cute little drawings. Before I realized it, my eyes had grown hot. You liked me that much? Enough to confess 10 times before giving up? Felix suddenly laughed. Got a problem with that? He tightened his arm around my waist, pulling me into his chest, letting out a long breath. He said, "No matter what, I've got you now." So I guess those letters weren't thrown away for nothing. No, I was still upset. I really didn't throw them away. Before I could finish, Felix lowered his head and sealed my lips with his. I believe you. After a long, lingering kiss, I rested against his chest, breathing softly. Then I remembered something. I lifted my head again and pecked that beautifully contoured jawline. Felix. About that love story. It's not too late now, is it? How could it be? Chapter 20. The next day, the moment I got up and stepped outside, I was instantly surrounded by gossip-hungry guests. Jenny Jia, do you really not love Felix yet? You're on a dating show and still acting independently? Is first love really that lethal? That guy was super scummy though, don't you think? Jenny Jia, why don't you and Felix just become regular cast members? We'll set up a full-on dating battle for you, marriage first. Love later isn't too late. No. What kind of spell did Felix's cooking put on them? Sensing that rumors were about to spiral out of control, I quickly pulled out the route map I'd finished yesterday. I was just rushing to draw this. Okay. Everyone immediately looked baffled. What's that? A road planning map to connect High Mountain Village. I sat down in the tent and took out several proposals from my personal charity foundation. I've recently been organizing a Mountain Village Girls Education Support Program. It can be launched, but there are many villages like High Mountain where transportation is extremely difficult. For some kids, just getting out of the village to attend school takes hours. As the saying goes, if you want education, you build roads first. Since the local authorities couldn't produce a concrete plan, I came over myself to draw the route line by line. Plus, with the exposure boost from your hugely popular dating show, it can at least put some pressure on the relevant departments. That's why I agreed to come on your dating show in the first place. I pulled out a QR code in reverse. So, anyone interested in doing some charity work with me? Before I could finish, my phone was smoothly taken away by a large hand reaching from behind. Charity isn't forced sales. Felix shook his head helplessly, then waved everyone over. Come eat breakfast. Chapter 21. Whether that counted as forced sales or not, I'm not sure. All I know is that after the filming wrapped, the guests were all sniffling as they posted official announcements and reposts on INS, while willingly transferring money to me. The dating show also, unsurprisingly, blew the whole thing up. Local authorities contacted me at lightning speed and even agreed to let me personally supervise the road construction. Perfect. So what if it was a little pushy? Everything on my end was going smoothly, but I heard the Rodriguez family had descended into chaos again. Somehow, the fact that Ellie had been purchased by Sean and Leander from Drunken Night reached Sam's ears. He was confused. If Sean had already found his biological sister 8 years ago, why wait until now to bring her home? So, without making a fuss, Sam secretly ordered another paternity test for Ellie. The result shocked him to the core. Ellie was not his biological daughter at all. After interrogating Sean, his son finally confessed the truth. Back then, Sam doted on me excessively, and I was also close to Felix, which made Sean feel that I, an adopted daughter, threatened his status as the legitimate heir. To drive me away, he began searching for the long-lost biological sister, only to learn that she had already died. So, with the help of his good friend Leander, he went to Drunken Night and bought a girl with an unclear identity. They slowly laundered her background, erased any potential future threats that could expose the lie, carefully manufacturing her into his own biological sister, Ellie. They forged a paternity test and sent her into the Rodriguez family. What Sean never expected was that even someone as all-powerful as Justin could still fall one day. Chapter 22. After that, stories spread that both the son and daughter of the Rodriguez family had been expelled from the household for no apparent reason. Sam began trying to contact me, even attempting to curry favor with Felix. We shut the door on all of it. As for the Koo family, because of Leander Koo's collusion with Justin, he had already fallen under the wary eye of Chairman Koo, a man who placed extreme importance on elite family reputation. Not to mention, he also had a younger brother watching him like a hawk. Without the backing of a marriage alliance with the Rodriguez family, he couldn't even stand up to one finger of that younger brother. The next time I saw him, it was outside the bridal boutique where I was trying on wedding dresses. The once immaculate, moonbright high mountain flower was wearing a familiar-looking white suit. Yet his face was haggard, his eyes redder than a sickly obsessive type. He stared blankly at me through the glass door. At last, he suddenly pulled a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket. With a broken smile, he pressed it against the glass. "Jenny, this is the wedding dress and suit you personally designed for our wedding back then. You remember it, don't you? Jenny, I'm wearing this suit now. I'm willing to marry you. Come back to me, all right?" The moment his words fell, Felix walked up beside me, wearing a wedding suit even more exquisitely designed. The cuffs and tie bore a subtle planetary orbit motif I had designed myself, perfectly matching my mermaid gown adorned with stardust-like diamonds. Outside the door, Leander completely snapped. He pounded viciously on the glass. "Felix, who do you think you are? You think Jenny will love you? She's just using you to get back at me. Did you forget? She threw away 9 of your love letters back then." Oh wow. I turned to look at Felix. At that moment, his eyes lit up slightly, and an oddly meaningful smile curved his lips. "So it was you." He smiled with a dangerous edge, clenched his fist, and walked out of the bridal shop, dragging Leander away. I let out a sigh. Great, that suit's going to have to be remade. Leander, it would have been fine if you just ran your mouth at me a bit. Why did you have to provoke him? Chapter 23. Where Leander ended up. No one knows. All I know is that when Felix returned home, it was already deep into the night. He had a few visible injuries, but he was in an extremely exhilarated state. Like a centuries-old vendetta had finally been avenged. "Couldn't you at least change clothes first?" With a pained heart, I stripped off his already damaged suit and kicked him straight into the bathroom, only to be dragged in after him the next second. Amid the sound of cascading water, the man used brute strength to pin me against the wall. Greedy and unrestrained. "I love you. You finally, completely, belong to me." I couldn't help laughing, stretching up on my toes to kiss the corner of his eye.